with Natsuki Subaru's authority and nothing more, it just isn't enough. That's why, come find me, Satla. Yo, man! Straight fire! Fire! Like, yo, the straight fire! Like, you're not gonna tell me this is not straight fire. Like, this right here is insane, because this is one of our first times within the ReZero story we have truly seen Subaru actually call for Satla, the witch, or not Satla, not the Witch of Envy, but actually Satla, calling for Satla to help him and using his authority in such a way. It is, oh my goodness, what a scene. Like, absolutely banger chapter of ReZero. So, yeah, let's get right into this. So, I've been catching up with the ReZero web novel. I'm in the middle of Arc 7. I started rereading it again to kind of remember everything and kind of the origins and all that type of stuff. And I guess I should have said this already, and forgive me for that. But, yeah, this video is going to contain a lot of spoilers for ReZero if you're an anime only. So if you're an anime only and you don't want to be spoiled, I do recommend you to stop. But anyways, let's get right into this. So basically, this happened. And honestly, it's, words cannot begin to describe just how insane Arc 7 has actually been for the progression of Subaru's character, but also how he's had to now rely on someone that he really hasn't ever really relied on before, and that is Satla. Now, we've seen elements of this with Arc 4, and how he didn't want to rely on Return by Death in terms of, like, continuously dying and becoming a monster and being detached from humanity. We've seen that element, and it's always pressed it to where Subaru didn't want to just die and go to the next, next time. That's what we saw throughout Arc, 5, and then even Arc 6. And Arc 7 now is put it into a place to where Subaru, he was in such a circumstance, the only way he could cope with what was going on around him was to actually scream out for the one person that he knows could potentially save him if things could be saved, and that is Satla. And this moment here where he's like, come find me, Satla, and then you just hear a pause, this long pause, and when she's like, I love you. And then as, everything goes, the world goes dark and all that around him, she just starts spamming, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I'm like, yo! The Witch of Envy, Satla, has returned. And I'm just like, yeah, Tappe-sensei really knows how to cook these type of things, and my goodness, man, it gives me just so much joy talking about ReZero. So, okay, let's talk about what's going on here, and why this is just such a hype moment for me. For one, Satla, as we know, fakes to Arc 4, and the story with it and all that. We know Witch of Envy and Satla are two different entities, but at the same time, they're an expression of love that they show Subaru in different ways. And obviously, the authority returned by death given to Subaru in its own way is a kindness and love that Satla bestowed upon him. And in this case, Subaru, in his desperate hour, realizing that people around him potentially are permanently dead and there's no way to fix it, screams out for the only person that potentially could, which is Satla. She comes in after him literally putting his life on the line, saying, I can return by death. He says this multiple times to Todd. And this just, shows the desperation in Subaru in this moment, because from my understanding, I don't think Subaru has willingly said he can return by death to someone. And like, the last time he said that was with Echidna. That was the last time he said that. And that's a long time ago. That's like Arc 4. This is Arc 7. Many pages, many words later. So it's like, the fact that he said that was a big moment. But he called out for her, and she arrived. And the reason why he called out for her and she arrived was because for a while now in Arc 7, ever since the Demon City of Chaos Flame, Subaru's overall return by death authority was malfunctioning. It was not working as intended, to where, like, his timer of when he would die, it would speed up by maybe 10 seconds to a minute, whatever. He would lose more and more time every time he died. So, for instance, let's say his checkpoint was 3 minutes before he died, okay? When he died again, his checkpoint would now be like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. until he died. It kept getting closer and closer to the point to where, like, he no longer could correct things like he wanted to. And in this case, what was happening in Arc 7 was pretty much something that Subaru has never really had to face before. And it was a very interesting circumstance that happened throughout these chapters. And that is the fact that Subaru was faced with an obstacle of death itself. That someone that he wanted to save could not be saved. And then it led to the only way that this could potentially fix itself is if Sotla could somehow get the malfunctioning Return by Death to work once again. Now, how did this happen? How did Return by Death stop working as intended? Well, there was a shinobi called Obart, or however you pronounce his name, that basically was a shinobi, and he manipulated Subaru's odd, his magic inside of him, and he shrunk Subaru down as a kid, which in turn messed with his very magical flow, and it caused Return by Death to basically not work as much anymore, and Sotla theoretically was just disconnected from Subaru. And my assumption, this hasn't been revealed yet, so I don't know, but from my assumption, Sotla was sending out like some form of ping to Subaru continuously, basically trying to keep it to where if he was to die, he would be reset. And even though she couldn't tell if he was alive or not, she kept probably sending out the power of Return by Death to him to make sure that he would not be permanently dead. That's my assumption, which is why it was malfunctioning. Even though she couldn't sense him, she was able to somehow continuously send Return by Death to him where he wouldn't necessarily lose the power, but it wasn't working as it normally intended. This also makes me wonder if Sotla decides the checkpoints. That is something that this arc definitely has made me wonder. I mean, it's always been Fury crafted. I've seen people talk about this. Some people have said it's random. Some people have said it's not. There's a lot of Furies for this, and I truly think after what this has shown me is that Sotla probably does choose, like, where Subaru does reset. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that Subaru basically didn't have a really working Return by Death, and he died a lot. And, you know, he finally had an encounter where someone was permanently dead. Couldn't save him. And this was an obstacle that, you know, has always been there in Subaru's mind. You know, like, if he goes too far, he can't fix things. And apparently, thanks to how malfunctioning Return by Death was, it was able to be fixed when Sotla was able to reconnect with him once again. Now, I do wonder when he did that, she gave kindness to him and set his checkpoint back, or if there's something else going on there, but it does give leeway that Sotla has a lot more power with Return by Death than we were first given, especially when it is implied that Subaru reset basically the beginning when he landed on the Gladiator Island. So, with all that being put into, you know, the terms of discussion for this, it basically means that Sotla, if she really wanted to, like, if Subaru had an obstacle to where, like, he couldn't get past it or whatever, like, you know, he had 3 days to work with, and, you know, he was going to, let's say, die, and he was going to lose people maybe on the second day, Sotla could make it to where he could have less time or maybe even more time. That's my general assumption with what these chapters have kind of showed. Now, I could be wrong with that one, forgive me if I am, or if there's other context that leads to a different conclusion, but at least from what I'm reading right now, that's what it looks like to me. But anyways, still absolutely insane to see Sotla actually being called out for by Subaru and her coming in to save the day. I honestly figured that thanks to the actions of what was going on here, that Sotla was going to straight up kill Todd. Like, I thought that was what was going to happen, or maybe the Black Mass that's been kind of following Subaru for a long time, throughout at the end of Arc 6 to Arc 7, would have appeared once again to try to deal with everyone. But it didn't do that, and I think the reason why maybe Sotla, you know, probably calmed down is probably because Subaru did call out for her, and I think that made her incredibly happy that he did so. But anyways, getting into another big key talking point, and I want to talk about Todd here. Briefly showed the image when I started the video, and I want to talk about this man. This man, I like him. Like, I like this character a lot. Now, I don't know a lot about him yet, like, there's stuff I know about him, but I'm still reading Arc 7, but his character legitimately is fascinating, because looking at the way Tape Sensei is trying to develop his character, like, it really does look like he's trying to say this man is an ordinary dude. He's just a run-of-the-mill dude, but because he's a run-of-the-mill dude, he is scary, because he will do anything to survive. Very similar to how Subaru is. He is basically the full counter to Subaru. Because one thing I have noticed when it comes to this character, at least from what I've read so far with the Gladiator Island and stuff, is that Todd as a character is someone that can outsmart Subaru no matter what Subaru throws at him. And that's one of the strongest things that Subaru's always had as a character, was that no matter what obstacle he faces, he comes at it with different angles because he has infinite lives. So if he, let's say, went left the last loop, he could go right the next loop. If he went left and right and he still failed, he'll go straight. If he went left, right, and straight, he'll go backwards. He always does different, things every loop to try to get out of said loop and stop people from dying. However, no matter what direction that Subaru usually tackles Todd, Todd always outthinks him when Subaru confronts him directly. When Subaru goes after him directly, Todd straight up will counter Subaru in any way whatsoever. And even if technically Todd loses the engagement, he still comes out on top. And what I mean by that is after this, when Subaru did reset the whole Gladiator Island and got everything the way he wanted, Todd was going to arrive to the Gladiator Island and set in motion to kill everybody there, Subaru included. Which is what caused, Satola to be called. And before he got to the island, he noticed that it seemed like a trap, and then he left. Before even bloodshed began, before people died, anything happened, he just straight up left as soon as he looked at the island. And it shows that he has high survival instincts, and he wants to prioritize his life itself. And even though Subaru technically put him in checkmate, and it looked like Subaru won in the end, Todd technically also outsmarted Subaru, because he didn't walk in to a death, trap. He didn't walk in to just straight up die, which is pretty terrifying. So, no matter what Subaru does, even when he has multiple days to prep, Todd still is able to outsmart Subaru in that way. And he is such a counter to him. It's a very interesting character. I can't wait to find out more about him as time goes on. I mean, do I think that Todd potentially could be turned into the good side? I mean, we've had characters that have done some heinous things turn good. I mean, let's look at, what Roswaal did. I mean, good example. As much as I say it's possible, I don't know. Because Todd is just straight up the opposite of who Subaru is. And I think that is one of the big driving things of why he's such a good antagonist of Arc 7. Because he isn't this overwhelming powerhouse like, let's say, Elsa was, or someone like Roswaal. He isn't someone like a witch. He's a regular Joe, but because he's so regular, it makes it to where he's scary, because he thinks outside the box. He does what people have to do if they are at the bottom of the totem pole. He does anything to survive, and I think that's what makes him such a fascinating character. Tappei Sensei has really went into some grade A writing with this character, and I have loved everything about him since his introduction of Arc 7. He's a character I dislike, he's a character I love, he's a character that makes me angry, and he's a character that gets me excited when he also is on the page. It's legitimately amazing. Great writing from Tappei all around. But, anyways, Arc 7. So far, in terms of my personal feelings towards, Arc 7, I don't know if it has surpassed Arc 6 with the Tower of, Memories and stuff. I don't think it has yet. That could change, obviously, but I think that looking at everything that Arc 7 has done, it definitely has progressed the story in a lot of different ways with Subaru's character. For one, with Subaru's regenerative properties, thanks to everything that happened in Arc 5, to the Black Mass and people knowing about something's dark inside of Subaru, aka Satola, to now this with him calling out for Satola. It seems like there's going to be a lot more openness with Subaru. People are going to start really finding out that something is going on with Subaru and that he might actually have a connection to Satola herself. So that is exciting information. So Arc 7 does have a lot of potential to be better than 6. At the moment, though, it isn't. But in terms of villains, Todd's going up there to be one of my favorites. He might eventually rival Sloth himself. I loved Sloth. Sloth is such a good villain, and Roswaal was too for his arc. But Sloth is so good. So I don't know. We'll see. We will definitely see. And then that also brings the can of worms to Pandora herself. Pandora was incredible, too, for the brief time we had her. So we'll see where that one is. But anyways, I wanted to talk about ReZero because I've been reading it, and I wanted to get my thoughts out there, just how incredible it's been. And if you're one of those individuals that have been pushing aside reading Arc 7 for a while, it's time to read it. It's time to read. Because I know Arc 7's done now, and Arc 8's, fully underway. It's, probably halfway or so. So that's pretty exciting, too. So I have a lot of content to get through. I'm really excited to see where Arc 8 goes. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. It does help me out a lot. Helps with the algorithm and everything like that. And if you would want more ReZero web novel videos, let me know in the comments below. But with that, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.